Welcome to our latest news update. Today we have a range of stories from around the world. First up,
the Ukrainian defense minister has suggested that Russia is preparing a new goodwill gesture. Meanwhile,
Ukrainian President Zelensky has denied that Ukraine attacked Putin or Moscow, following the release of a Kremlin drone. In other news,
a Finnish daily has used a shooter video game to dodge Russia's press restrictions, while
President Zelensky has made a surprise visit to Finland. Finally,
a Russian fuel depot has caught fire near the key Crimea bridge, and the UN has warned that
press freedom is under attack in every corner of the globe. So, let's get started.
Ukrainian Defense Minister Alexei Reznikov believes that Russia may announce another goodwill gesture, under the pretext of a man-made disaster on Russian territory due to defeats on the battlefield.
Reznikov made this statement in an interview with the agency Interfax Ukraine.
The minister suggested that the Kremlin is already looking for possible scenarios to justify the Ukrainian army's next success to the general public in Russia.
According to Reznikov, the Kremlin is already looking for scenarios for how to win this back, and there may be a goodwill gesture under the guise of some cataclysm.
Reznikov believes that a serious disaster, such as an incident at a power plant or nuclear power plant, could be used as a pretext to end active military operations in Ukraine and announce a goodwill gesture.
Reznikov's statement is not a forecast, but rather his reasoning based on observations of public statements in the Russian media. Well, it seems like the Ukrainian defense minister's suggestion of a goodwill gesture from Russia didn't quite pan out. In fact, it looks like tensions are still flying higher than a Kremlin drone.
Mick Mulroy, a former U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense and CIA officer, has commented on the recent incident involving a car crash in Ukraine.
Mulroy stated that if reports of the incident were accurate, it was unlikely to be an assassination attempt.
He explained that Ukraine closely tracks President Putin's movements and he was not in Moscow at the time of the crash.
Mulroy's comments suggest that the incident may have been a coincidence or a result of other factors.
The car crash occurred on a highway near Kyiv and involved a car that reportedly crossed into the opposite lane and collided with a vehicle carrying a Ukrainian military officer.
The incident has sparked speculation and concern about potential political motivations, but Mulroy's analysis suggests that this may not be the case.
From one controversy to another, it seems like everyone is trying to avoid Russia's wrath these days.
Finland's largest daily newspaper, Helsingin Sanomat, has hidden articles about Russia's war in Ukraine in the popular online video game Counter-Strike to breach Russian media restrictions.
The editor-in-chief, Antero Muka, said the paper had to get creative in finding ways to provide reliable, independent journalism to the Russian audience.
Russia has cracked down on independent journalism in the country, banning free reporting and denying Russians access to media content produced abroad.
Helsingin Sanomat began publishing some of its Ukraine and Russia-related news in Russian last year, only to see access from Russia to its content quickly restricted.
The paper built a map of an unspecified war-torn Slavic city in Counter-Strike, naming it _Voyna, in reference to the Russian word, Voyna, meaning war, which is prohibited in Russia in reference to the conflict in Ukraine.
The map conceals a secret room where the paper hid images and texts detailing the cruelties witnessed by its reporters and photographers in Ukraine during the war. From dodging Russia's press restrictions to dodging surprise visits, Finland seems to be getting quite good at avoiding unexpected guests. Speaking of which, Ukrainian President Zelensky just made a surprise visit to the country.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has traveled to Helsinki to attend a meeting of Nordic prime ministers hosted by Finnish President Sauli Niinisto.
Zelensky has made only a few trips abroad since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022.
The meeting in Helsinki was announced last week, but Zelensky's attendance was kept secret for security reasons.
Zelensky and Niinisto will discuss Ukraine's defense struggle, Finland's support for Ukraine, bilateral relations, and the global geopolitical situation.
Zelensky also plans to attend the Nordic Ukrainian Summit and meet with the prime ministers of Sweden, Norway, Denmark, and Iceland.
The visit is considered significant and offers Zelensky an opportunity to appeal directly to the leaders of each Nordic country for support in Ukraine's counter-offensive against Russia.
From a surprise visit to Finland to a fiery situation in Crimea, it seems like the only thing hotter than Ukrainian politics is this fuel depot fire. A severe fire broke out at a fuel depot near the critical bridge Russia uses to deliver weapons and soldiers to occupied Crimea and southern Ukraine.
The fire has been assigned the highest level of severity, but there are no reported victims.
Fire brigades, emergency services, and the Ministry of Emergency Situations are on the scene to prevent the fire from spreading further.
The cause of the fire is unknown.
The incident occurred days after an apparent drone strike hit a fuel depot in Sevastopol, a Crimean port city used by the Russian Navy.
Ukraine has not officially taken responsibility for the strike, but a spokesperson for Ukraine's Army Command South said the Sevastopol fire was a preparation for a Ukrainian counteroffensive.
Well, from a fiery situation in Russia to a heated topic around the world, it seems like the news is really bringing the heat today.
Press freedom is being attacked globally, with journalists facing harassment, imprisonment, and even death, according to UN officials and media outlets.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres issued a call to action for journalists and media worldwide, stating that press freedom is the foundation of democracy and justice.
UNESCO awarded its 2023 World Press Freedom Prize to 3 Iranian women, including 2 journalists and a human rights activist, who have been jailed.
The rising dangers of journalism were also highlighted, with some journalists facing imprisonment, torture, and death for their work.
The digital age has changed the information landscape, making professional, free, and independent journalism more necessary than ever, according to UNESCO head Audrey Azoulay.
Censorship has become a default position for many governments, and the erosion of press freedom can lead to democratic erosion, warns Amnesty International's Secretary General Agnes Callamard.